Here's a weird fact. 10,000 years ago, humans had no mattresses, no pillows, no blackout curtains, no melatonin gummies, no sleep apps, no white noise machines. And yet, they slept better than you do. Not a little better, significantly better. Deeper, more restorative sleep, cleaner sleep cycles, easier waking, less fatigue. Which raises a genuinely strange question. How did creatures with no technology, living in the wild, surrounded by predators and weather, somehow master the one thing modern humans can't figure out? We have $400 billion worth of sleep industry, supplements, trackers, mattress companies with 100-night trials, entire Netflix shows about sleep optimization, and still, 1 in 3 adults doesn't get enough sleep. So what did they know that we forgot? Let's start with where we are right now. The modern sleep crisis isn't a myth. The CDC calls insufficient sleep a public health epidemic. Adults need 7 to 9 hours, most get 6 or less, and it's not just about feeling groggy. Chronic poor sleep is linked to heart disease, diabetes, obesity, depression, anxiety, weakened immune function, and a dramatically shorter lifespan. But here's the thing that makes this really interesting. Our biology hasn't changed. Your brain, your hormones, your circadian rhythms, they're running the same operating system as a human from 50,000 years ago, literally the same code. The problem isn't our hardware, it's our environment. We took ancient hardware and dropped it into the most sleep-hostile conditions in human history: artificial light, chronic stress, sedentary lifestyles, constant stimulation. And we wonder why the system crashes. So let's go back. Way back. Let's look at what ancient humans actually had that we've quietly dismantled, one piece at a time. The first advantage ancient humans had? The sun. Not as a metaphor. Literally, the sun did something your phone cannot. It perfectly regulated their circadian rhythm every single day. Inside your brain is a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, about the size of a grain of rice, and it controls your entire 24-hour biological clock. And it runs on one input: light. Ancient humans woke to bright natural sunlight hitting their eyes. That light signal fired through the optic nerve, suppressed melatonin, raised cortisol in the healthy morning way, and said clearly, "It's daytime. Be alert, move, hunt, build." Then the sun set, the light disappeared, and the opposite happened. Melatonin rose, core body temperature dropped, the nervous system began powering down. The signal was equally clear: it's night, rest, recover, sleep. The sun was the original sleep schedule, and it worked perfectly every single day. Advantage number 2, ancient humans were genuinely physically exhausted by sunset. Not "I sat at a desk for 8 hours tired," real full-body earned fatigue. Researchers who study modern hunter-gatherer tribes, the closest living comparison to our ancestors, find that these groups walk an average of 10 to 16 kilometers per day, carry heavy loads, build, hunt, process food by hand. Their bodies did actual work all day, every day. When you're physically exhausted, something called adenosine builds up in your brain. Think of adenosine as a sleep pressure gauge. The more you move and exert energy, the higher it fills. By nightfall, ancient humans had adenosine levels so high that sleep came fast and deep, almost involuntarily. It wasn't a struggle, it was an inevitability. Advantage 3, and this one's fascinating. Ancient human stress had a finish line. Modern stress does not. When our ancestors faced a threat, a predator, a rival tribe, a failing hunt, their stress response fired hard and fast. Cortisol and adrenaline flooded the system. Heart rate spiked, muscles tensed. The whole survival machine switched on, and then the threat ended. Either they escaped or they didn't. Either way, it was over, and the body returned to baseline. Modern stress is different. It's abstract, chronic, ongoing. Your boss doesn't stop being your boss. Your mortgage doesn't get resolved in 10 seconds. Social media is a threat that never ever ends, so cortisol stays elevated. And elevated cortisol, especially at night, is one of the single biggest blockers of deep restorative sleep. Your brain stays in a low-grade state of alert. The threat response never fully switches off. Here's where it gets really interesting. Ancient humans probably didn't sleep in one 8-hour block. Historical and anthropological evidence suggests they practiced what researchers call biphasic sleep, 2 separate sleep periods in one night. First sleep began at dusk and lasted until around midnight. Then there was a quiet waking period, maybe an hour or two, sometimes used for reflection, conversation, light activity, or intimacy. Then second sleep, lasting until dawn. Historian Roger Ekirch found hundreds of historical diary entries and documents referencing first sleep and second sleep as completely normal, expected parts of the night cycle. The invention of artificial light, and eventually the industrial workday, compressed this into a single sleep block that we now treat as the only correct way to sleep. But your body might not agree. If you wake at 2 or 3 a.m. and can't get back to sleep immediately, you might not be broken. You might be ancient. Advantage 5. Ancient nights were genuinely completely dark. Not I turned off the main light but my router is blinking dark. Not the street light comes through the curtain, dark, black, absolute, primal darkness. And darkness does something powerful. It tells your pineal gland to release melatonin, the sleep hormone that doesn't just make you drowsy but fundamentally shifts your body into repair mode, cell regeneration, immune function, memory consolidation, deep tissue recovery. All of this runs on melatonin, and melatonin runs on darkness. Just 10 minutes of blue light exposure, the kind your phone and laptop emit, is enough to suppress melatonin production for hours. This isn't a theory. This is one of the most replicated findings in sleep science. The light from your screen is telling your biology it's noon, when it's midnight. Now let's get into what's actually happening inside the brain during all of this, because the science here is genuinely wild. During deep sleep, your brain runs what's called the glymphatic system, basically a biological waste removal service that only operates at full power when you're asleep. Cerebrospinal fluid flows through the brain and flushes out toxic proteins, including amyloid beta, which is directly linked to Alzheimer's disease. Ancient humans, with their natural sleep patterns, were running this cleaning cycle every night, on schedule, deeply and efficiently. We're running it partially, inconsistently, interrupted by stress and light, and waking up with a brain that's never quite been fully cleaned. REM sleep, the dream stage, is when the brain processes emotional memory, regulates mood, and performs creative problem-solving. Researchers have found that hunter-gatherer groups achieve longer, more consistent REM cycles than modern urbanites. We're losing our dreaming hours, quietly, every night. The irony is profound. We live in the most medically advanced, technologically sophisticated era in human history, and we are objectively worse at sleeping than people who slept on the ground, under trees, without a single self-help book about sleep hygiene. So what do we actually do with all of this? Here's the thing. You don't need to sleep in a cave. You just need to give your ancient brain a few of the signals it evolved to expect. First, get bright natural light in your eyes within 30 minutes of waking up. Not through a window, actual outdoor light. This single habit sets your circadian timer for the entire day and makes falling asleep at night dramatically easier. Andrew Huberman's lab has spent years documenting this. It's probably the highest leverage sleep intervention that exists. Second, move your body, not to punish yourself, not to hit a step count, but to fill that adenosine gauge. Your body needs to feel like it did something today before it's willing to fully power down tonight. Third, let your environment cool down at night. Ancient nights were cooler than the days. Your core body temperature needs to drop about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit for sleep onset. Open a window, lower the thermostat, take a warm shower, which counterintuitively accelerates the body's heat dissipation process and speeds up sleep onset. And finally, dim the lights after sunset. Your brain is still waiting for that signal. Give it what it's been expecting for 300,000 years. Here's what strikes me most about all of this. We didn't just lose sleep. We lost the conditions that made sleep inevitable. We removed all the natural cues that evolution spent hundreds of thousands of years carefully calibrating and replaced them with screens and stress and artificial midnight sunlight. Your ancient ancestor didn't have to try to sleep well. The world around them was designed, by nature, to make sleep happen. We built a world designed for the opposite, and then we sell each other supplements to compensate. If your ancestor from 10,000 years ago could see your bedroom, the glowing screens, the blinking lights, the climate control, the racing thoughts, what do you think they'd say? If you found this interesting, subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's your worst sleep habit? I genuinely want to know.